So yeah, like I said, I've been thinking a lot about the sort of political significance of archiving memory, and not just the archive that exists itself is political, but also the act of taking agency to archive in a capitalist institution that gets to decide for us what is archivable and what isn't. So this is an archive of a heartbreak. I think it's pretty important. Archivable. And we're all about to bleed into each other. I'm really excited about it. Okay. Cradle me crazy like embers hold weight in a room full of dark and that's all. Finish me off like a rough aftershock rocks the soul to the roots to the stem. Finish me off like a rough aftershock rocks the soul to the roots to the stem. Finish me off like a rough aftershock rocks the soul to the roots to the stem. Finish me off like a rough aftershock rocks the soul to the roots to the stem. Am I the shadow of the shade? Extension of the shadow of the shade. Extension of the Your eyes in the hallway full of fire, my body full of blood, forbidden and last minute when we lost ourselves. A cat ate the moon. Teeth in the middle of the road looked just like little rocks. We didn't believe her when she told us. But then she held up 3 newspapers, all with that same headline. The way the pale new moon rose along the ocean in the morning. Sparrows in the trees, spittle on the sidewalk. I remember dreaming about 2 suitcases sleeping in the cloudy moon. I saw my family about 2 suitcases sleeping in the cloudy moon. Everyone was smiling, watching the lightning about 2 suitcases sleeping. Olive oil on my French bread. Everyone was smiling. Oceans too. Drizzle, drizzle, drizzle. Mop it up. Yum. I forget everything, but I can't stop thinking about you. My grandfather studying a minor league baseball game in the park in our hometown on the beach. So the next person who's performing will probably need a space. Is that true?
Okay, yeah. Thank you,
Anna.
Anna.
Yeah.
Not Anna.
Sorry. Okay. Anna Antipalindrome. Thank you. And our next performer is a friend of mine. I met my fiance at her house. She throws the best poetry parties in San Francisco that I've been to. And her name is Cara Vida.
Yeah, it's great to be here tonight, and I'm going to do something for you here that I did. I guess maybe it was a pumpkin to this ride we've all been on. And time is an illusion. And I just have no sense of time anymore, for some reason. And when I did this piece, I did it with urgency, and it's been tweaked. I did a lot of open mics with it and sort of tweaked a few things as I went along. I got very tired of doing the piece because I was constantly thinking about this thing. But since I've been hanging out with that clever, adorable little vixen called Misinformation, I feel much better now. Yes, I have some nagging doubts that it might not all be Skittles and beer, but she has taken away a lot of my fears, that little adorable Misinformation. But then I realized that my gut instincts are usually correct. So I'm going to do this piece for you that I did. And when I first did it, I did an accompaniment with Ray Charles. But now I have something a little different as an accompaniment to this piece. Oh, yeah. I love this. Fatal explosion, and British Petroleum answers to no one. tipping point toppled, offshore oil spill, gushes, kills. Enough is enough. A waking nightmare, horrific catastrophe. Mere words just fail me. Unconscionable. British Petroleum is unaccountable. BP CEO said, "I just want my life back." What? Are you insane? The workers who died? I bet they want their lives back, you son of a bitch. Anger and despair envelops, overwhelms me. I know what this is. No regard for life or future generations. Corporations rule. And the hand of man stirs cauldron of destruction. Time to cop to it. Human beings living at the expense of the earth keep on destroying. Lives and illusions, vast, ugly stupidity. We are the problem. Addicted to oil, we are deep in our sickness. It is terminal. Short-sighted humans, no room for other species. Selfish, self-centered. We're doomed to consume, greedy for our small comforts, all numb and dumbed down. Unconscionable. We have poisoned the planet and poisoned ourselves. I still remember Chernobyl, 3 Mile Island, so-called accidents. And now, here we are, offshore oil spill, rushes, kills, an oil volcano. I know what this is. This unnatural disaster is cataclysmic. The consequences, they will be wide and far-flung. The damage is done. What's it all about? Profits are the bottom line. Corporations rule. This has got to stop. Corporations call the shots. The human monsters. The grand deceptions, old tricks don't work anymore. Time to rethink this. In thousands of years, yes, these horrors will pass. All systems collapse. But here we are now. Somehow we must deal with this. The damage is done. And let me finish up with what I've been saying for this year. Don't say when in 2010, let your cup runneth over with intention, again and again. Pay attention, the old tricks don't work anymore. Embrace your mother of reinvention again and again. Enough is enough. Must reconnect to the earth with love and respect. Thank you.
Thank you, Parvita. Before I introduce our next speaker, I just want to mention that we're having a silent auction tonight. So we'll have an intermission after a little while, but feel free to browse around if you want to check things out. There's also various refreshments in the back, including wine and beer and juice and water, it looks like. And I hope you're having a good time. If anybody needs anything, let me or the staff know. And now I'd like to introduce, I think I had your name wrong earlier, Amanda Lee Tan, who's with Mobilization for Climate Justice West. And they're going to be kicking off a series of trainings very soon to help organize and educate people on how to target the corporations and big business and organization that's behind what's happening with oil climate problems like warming and, well, I'll let him speak because he'll probably describe it much better than me. Thank you.
Good evening. Thanks, Sarah, for having me here. I just I'll keep this brief because later on I guess we'll have more of a discussion of really what's going on out there with not just the oil spill, but with the larger climate crisis, which the oil spill is an integral part of, and how people are choosing to organize to fight back against not just the climate crisis, but really the root cause of the climate crisis, the systems, the capitalist, economic, imperialist systems that are really pinning down this crisis and that are driving it, the economic drivers, the corporate drivers. And I just wanted to use this bit of time. I'm with a large coalition that's formed here in the Bay Area in the last year. It's called the Mobilization for Climate Justice. I work for an organization called the Global Alliance for Incinerator Alternatives, and we're a Bay Area originated group that came together to work with waste workers and communities fighting incineration practices around the world. And in the last year, we've met with other groups fighting other polluting industries, a lot of economic justice groups in East Bay, a lot of anti-poverty groups, a lot of environmental groups, and realized that we have a crisis on our hands, the scale and size of which requires that we all start working together. And so whether you've been fighting war, or imperialism, or ecological destruction, it's a time right now where we really need to bring together all our forces, all of civil society, all public interest groups, all people's movements to start collaborating on what it may be the biggest ecological, economic, and social crisis of our times. So in the last year we formed the Mobilization for Climate Justice, and we targeted a lot of our actions on local, what we call climate justice fights, and I'll get into that later on in more detail, and you'll hear more details about really what's happening in the Gulf with the BP oil spill and the lack of corporate ownership and responsibility, and how people are mobilizing against that right now. But here a year ago we chose to target our actions against the biggest corporate polluter in our backyard, which is, as most of you know, is Chevron in Richmond, and so a lot of our efforts have been working with local community groups that have led the fight for many years now, and oftentimes don't get the profile and the stories don't get told. And I just wanted to flag that at the end of this month, on August 29th, which is the start of the 5th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina, we thought we would kick off this year's Actions on Climate Justice with a mass nonviolence direct action training in downtown Oakland, and also couple this with a lot of the youth groups that have been fighting police violence and oppression on the streets, and really bring folks together to say, okay, here's the way we can fight back, here's the way we can take on the corporate polluters and their various forms of violence. So August 29th, Sunday, marking the 5th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina, we'll be holding a direct action training, the following day of which we're going to come here to the city and bring folks into the city to go after the corporate polluters who are at the root cause of the climate crisis. So look forward to discussing with you more, what's going on and how we can all be involved, and really happy to be here in the space amongst artists and poets and all the folks who really make movement beautiful. So I'm looking forward to discussing this more with you. Thanks.
I just thought I'd mention a few of the strange things that I've learned recently about BP when this oil spill came out that I wouldn't have probably ordinarily heard. And actually Stephen turned me on to it. It was on democracynow.org, which is a great alternative news website. And apparently BP used to be called something like the Arabic oil industry supporters or something. And they wanted Iran's oil, so they got in touch with the CIA, put some pressure on them and said, Iran's turning communist. What are you going to do about this? And got the CIA to support them so that they could get the oil out of Iran, and they overthrew the elected president. And look where we are today with Iran, where it's and just the Middle East in general. And so I just wanted to mention that. If you haven't checked out the story, you can find it on democracynow.org about the history of BP in Iran. And now I'd like to bring up Paul Corman Roberts. Paul leads a series of poetry and other performance readings at Kaleidoscope Cafe here in the Mission, and the series is called Anger Management, and it's always a good crowd there.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Viracocha. It's really, really great. Just really an honor to be performing here this evening. This is called Listening to the News, with apologies to Theodore Geisel, who some of you might know better as Dr. Seuss. Listening to the news the other day, I hear the nation's economy is accelerating when I could have sworn it was fasting. Of course, fasting is what Wall Street dreams for the rest of us in their dream scenarios. An economy that can ignite speculation and go from $0 to $100 billion of investment capital in less than 60 seconds. No less than 1 million revolutions per second, please. I wonder, though, if this economic dream machine yields or swerves, drives defensively or hooks U-E's, makes sharp right turns, or even comes to a complete stop. Does the economy climb up long and narrow mountain passes while making hairpin turns through the driven snow? Combust full bore over rugged terrain with Monroe shock absorbers on high-octane profit certainty? Can the economy reach a velocity where no mere object of nature could hope to impede its path? Approach the speed of light in a pedal-stomping orgy of leaden fuel consumption? The economy must be able to refuel itself on every resource it can encompass, but it cannot slow down. No, it must not slow down. The monophonic voice of the Columbia Broadcasting System's radio network implies, very specifically, by its concerned yet unpanicked inflection, that authoritative postulate: the economy must not slow down. In fact, merely maintaining our current velocity is not enough. We need more. More fuel, more speed, more financial combustion, more acceleration. We need more lonely, narrow mountain passes with hairpin corners and virgin resources. We need more tickets to sell. We need more passengers who need what we need. We need more indigenous blood, sweat, and tears to feed the ravenous carburetor. We need more rich, creamy petroleum to keep that smooth, explosive mix in the cylinders happily farting away with the intestinal accretions of polyvinyl methamphetamine. This new all-frill service freak economy bus has got to keep going a little bit further, and you're either on or off that bitch, inhaling just one more toke of old-growth rainforest, or one more vial of the final solution. And it's all perfectly legal, because the mission rings out from Silicon Valley to DC to Madison Avenue, like a neon sponsorship in place of the bright side of the moon. The economy must grow bigger and better, more efficiently. The economy must keep getting bigger and biggering and biggering and biggering until we have more and more SUVs, more and more TVs, more and more pharmaceutical Schedule II speed, because that's what everyone needs. And then I wonder, if deep inside Wall Street slumbers, it is possible the economy hydroplanes, skids out, spins out, locks up, 360s, whiplashes, fishtails, parasails, and derails over the mountainside, rolling over and over, and then hinging, roll over, and unraveling, roll over, dismantling, deregulating, fragmenting and descending into a completely totaled investment while smashed hulking monoliths of silicon and graphite litter the canyon floor. The economy doesn't burst into flames like it would in the movies. It simply waits for the scavengers to come and pick the machineries and bodies apart, and waits to be digested piece by piece. Yet another hostile merger. Perhaps the slowing of the economy means a few less greenhouse quotas were traded for a few thousand stock options in the wink of an eye today, or perhaps half the petroleum lobby in the Beltway contracted food poisoning. Maybe some of the passengers on board are making a lunge for the brakes, risking a kick in the mouth from the power-drunk blue suits in the driver's seat. Braking, after all, has been known to quiet those unkempt radicals in the back of the bus, who have never been in too much of a hurry to go anywhere anyway, but who know damn well that barreling toward the edge of a cliff is also an unnatural act. Maybe the drivers wish they could just shut the damn radio off so the passengers don't have to listen to the news that says they're all losing a race that gives out no other prize than its own extinction. Maybe they wish we would all stop listening to the news. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Next, I'd like to bring up a very active poet in the area. He writes a lot. He gets published a lot. He's a member of the Revolutionary Poets Brigade. There's several members here tonight from the brigade. We're co-sponsoring this event with Out of Bar and Mobilization for Climate Justice West. His name is Dee Allen, and then Mel Clay will be on deck. Dee Allen was reading at the anarchist event I was at, where I met Andy at the Pit Room. With Cara Reed and Sal were there. Dee Allen, are you ready? Can everybody hear me?
From above the metallic drill, punctures and bores, digging ever deeper till it reaches a core, and then suddenly it arose in a geyser. Blood from the body came higher and higher, drenching the surface, flowing through veins. There's no stopping it seems, her body constantly drains. So let her mother bleed for fewer machines. So let her mother bleed for big company schemes. So let her mother bleed so factories can pollute. Sky grows black from smoke because the bleed's profuse. So let her mother bleed out from her inner core. Our lifeblood continues to be a motivation for pointless war. So let her mother bleed so greedy bastards can have their niche. So let her mother bleed and make their companies more rich. And our mother lies drained of all that she's worth. Society grew to depend upon the blood of the earth. The first poem tonight was called Exsanguination, something I wrote 3 years ago about the oil industry. And the next piece I have ready for tonight is new. I've performed this in public once before with musical accompaniment, but this piece is not a poem, it's actually written as song lyrics, which I do every once in a while. But this is written as an experimental noise song to be performed with 4 drum kits, 1 bullhorn, 1 metal rubbish can, 1 metal sheet, 2 lead pipes, and 1 electric metallic sounding guitar tuned to drop D. With an opening and closing backdrop of pre-recorded samples of ocean sounds and news reports. I have none of that tonight, so I'm going to end up reading these song lyrics to you instead. This is a new piece called Black Waves. Deep water, horizon, underwater, bountiful environment. Drill rig explosion, wasted petrol, colored the ocean, darkened tide spreads to all. Denizens of nature, center early graves, our future, rolling forth in thick black waves, in black waves, in black waves, in black waves, in black waves. Sealing the puncture, control burns, won't work at this juncture, lessons no one learns. And what about the pelicans, struggling in the marsh, covered in Gulf crude, man-made malady so harsh, denizens of nature, center early graves, our future, rolleth forth the thick black waves. In black waves, in black waves, in black waves, in black waves. Cloud banks form over a teeming terrain. Vicious windstorm, followed by a slick, greasy rain, and an ink-black shore. Further signs of affliction, best argument for breaking our lingering addiction to oil. Denizens of nature, center early graves, our future rolleth forth in thick black waves, in black waves, in black waves, in black waves, in black waves. Those song lyrics were called Black Waves. Try to use your imagination if any of y'all imaginations haven't been taken away from you by watching too much television. What this song was about. My name is Dee Allen. Thanks for listening. Find alternatives to fossil fuels.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dee. We have some broadsides here from Dee Allen, available tonight if anyone's interested. And
That's a huge effort.
her broadsides are beautiful. And now I'd like to bring up Mel Clay. Mel is a poet who's been in North Beach for years, who was familiar with Bob Kaufman and wrote an impressionist biography of Bob Kaufman, which he donated for the auction tonight. It's a great read. I've read it myself, and it really is an impressionist biography. If you can imagine what that would be like. It's like you're there, and it's blurry and beautiful, and a nice tribute to Bob. Mel Clay.
Hi, I'm Mel Clay. I'm working here tonight. I thank Sarah for inviting me and all the customers who showed up. We couldn't do it without you. Just be me and Sarah sitting around talking about the old days. So here's something I wrote this afternoon for the occasion. It's from a series of mine called American Muscle. Notes for a novel. The Gulf of Mexico. Tar balls. The soft whiteness of her skin offered sharp contrast to the silver strips of duct tape plastered across her mouth. Her hair is red. The flesh across her shoulders tanned by freckles. Her eyes had never seen a pants-down erection pointing up at her mouth. Her hair, tousled in the sundown wind, is thrown back. She liked her lovers tall and thin, like she was. She wore an old pair of jeans and a Kelly green halter top. It was still pre-bra days for her, and her breasts splashed with 7-Eleven cologne pushed up to her chin. We danced, we stumbled all night, but the dawn brought the sleek, the slick, the dark first of the oil, the choke of hard breath, a nasty cloud up from the bottom of the bay. The early light was smoked with violence, and her face under me bounced off the pillow like a hologram, seen first rush of an outdoor arena rave, choked with bathtub ecstasy. My face was bruised by her kisses and the fists of her jealous lovers. Now the tar balls are into the bed, black but flesh bulb lit like disco lights. The thump, thump, thump of the dream machine, the back projection, getting shagged backstage by a roadie. The horror movie oil is up all over my chin. I'm lost on a frozen back road, out of gas, the dancing dead, the gulf, the end, the choke, the nastiness of the oil. It's in the eyes of the dead fish, the turtles, the pelicans, the gators, the frogs. They're all plodded down now, without a spark of life, down to the bottom, feeding oil, oil in the mouth, the wings, the drop of curtain over the pink pleading eyes, the oil of nothing. Birds live past darkness, past blue or green, past flight and grass and gross and the getaway. They're loaded down now to the bottom. The cliff, the victims, the sacrifice of nature, the neon, the prophet, the power, all this innocence of nature, facing each sacrifice as a taste now to the grave. The bone of some simple, hard pipe broken into their mouths, pushed down into their hearts. Someday, I'll return to New Orleans. I'll let the music, the streets, the memories heal me. The oil bled only in the Gulf. It drowned the marshes, the spores, the bayou. Flat on my back now, spitting up oil. See how grateful I am. How far away I am now. I am done with it. I am alone with it. I am hungry and I want to eat. I will not forget.
Thank you, Mel. And now I'm going to bring up a friend who's visiting here from Florida. She's been engaged in activities in the area trying to find out the truth of what's going on and supporting the community. And so she's going to speak with us about that tonight and give us some information about where you can find more details. And her name is Diana. Thank you.
Really glad to be here. I'll be glad to go home too. I've been a little cold. This probably, what is it, like day 110 or something like that. It started for me, I'm currently living in Key West, Florida, and it started for me about day 10. I woke up, we all saw it on the news, and I woke up and somebody was putting a tar roof on across the street, and I smelled this smell. And it just permeated my home, permeated me, and it made me sick. It made me feel like I was a mother whose baby had gotten sick. I kept thinking about, what's going to happen with the animals. I volunteer for the Wildlife Center. We, save pelicans from, fisherman's line and stuff like that, and a lot of wildlife. And so I called the director, Michelle, and I said, Michelle, do we have a plan here? I've been a long time activist organizer, dealt with volunteers. Do you have a plan to get some more volunteers? Because we're going to end up needing it. And she said, well, no, we are going to be the site for the cleanup for the birds and things, but a group called Tri-State is in control of all of that, and they're a contractor the BP uses. So I didn't know who they were, and so I'm still all on the phone calling day after day, finally get a hold of Tri-State, trying to find out who's in charge and who has a plan. Who's going to clean this up? What are we going to do down here? If she continues to bark, I'll bring her up on my feet. You can bring her up if she does. She's my baby. But, so anyway, I went down to my city manager, Jim Schultz in Key West, and said, do you have a plan for this? Is there any plans? No one had a plan, of course, and wherever you are, if you're in a disaster, I mean, I've been through hurricanes, I've been through earthquakes. We are the disaster plan, you know, FEMA, all the rest of it, it's just ridiculous. We have to take care of ourselves, so I hope we all have a plan. You know, we got to start thinking about these things in life. Nobody had a plan. The city manager said, oh, we're probably only going to get some tar balls, so we don't really need to worry about this. So I hooked up with some people, put a website up, we called it keyspill.com. I got on the radio, got on the flyers, started going to every event and saying, look, volunteer, you know, we don't know what we're going to do, but we got to get together. We've got to come together. So I went around to the Reef Relief, the GLEE, which is our environmental groups, and I brought together about 10 of the environmental groups in the Florida Keys, along with Greenpeace has joined our coalition. We've formed the Florida Keys Environmental Coalition to see, you know, to educate ourselves. What are we going to do? The way it's evolved, no one really knew exactly what was going to happen. We brought in Dr. Rice, who's the Dean of Marine Science, for remediation solutions, and we've come up with, they call them bad bugs. They're the enzymes that get in there and eat up the oil. Also air curtains. We, on Oceans Day, I sit on my computer all night long, and I'm, you know, networking and meeting so many people. Facebook is a great tool for getting your word out there, and met a few people, and we put together some demonstrations. The main thing is the dispersants are 10 times more toxic than the oil itself. And so we started, you know, calling up the EPA, calling up the president, you know, getting out there, let's stop the dispersants now, which never happened. They're still using dispersants, and they're telling us that even though the reefs and the mangroves will certainly die under the use of dispersants, they haven't taken it off the table. The only, who's in control, right? Who's in control? BP is in control. The Unified Command is working with BP. The Unified Command is the Coast Guard. Started calling the Coast Guard. What are you going to do here? Basically, the only way that the environment can have a voice is to take, I've taken all the FEMA classes. There's like 7 FEMA disaster classes. And they plug people in. They call it the Big P. And they plug people in. You have the Unified, Fat Allen is like the promising us transparency, and all we have gotten is our First Amendment rights suspended. The whole thing is a mess. I should have prepared a little bit better for, you know, giving you some facts and figures, but what I can tell you, the water is toxic, the people in the Gulf are getting sick. In my trek, pulling together this coalition, getting resolutions from Key West, from the county, trying to convince people that let's just agree that we've got to be prepared for the worst. The independent water testing is one of the main issues that I'm working on for the lower Keys. Up in the Gulf, the water is so toxic that for damage to humans is 0.5 parts per billion. The independent water testing that's going on up in the Gulf is showing 800 to 1,000 parts per million that children are playing in. There are no closed signs. You cannot tell that this water is contaminated by looking at it. The dispersants have hidden the problem. I've been on this trek for a couple of weeks and hadn't listened to the news, and magically we're hearing on the news that, hey, it's not as bad as we thought it was. It's, kind of, take a look at this, but you can't see it. It's underneath the water. Totally toxic. The air that comes off of this mixed with the Corexit and the methane and the oil itself, it actually causes cell rupture. People are going to the hospital in droves. I was sitting in Mario De Janeiro, our county commissioner's car, and he was getting an update from Governor Christ's secretary. This is about, maybe 45 days ago. And she was in tears because Governor Chris had just been in Louisiana. Hundreds of people are packing the emergency rooms. We're not hearing this. We definitely have, our First Amendment rights have been suspended. Total collusion in the government with BP. We don't know what's going on. We know what's going on because we send people up there. I've been talking to people. I got a call from a girl today who was hired on BP. There's new waves coming at Destin right now. They called them up. They said, you got to be there at 5 o'clock in the morning. There's new waves coming in. It's so toxic that when you take the HAZWOPER training, you have to change your respirator every 7 minutes to be safe. They're putting people out on the beaches with no respirators. People are getting so sick. The first symptoms are burning throats, all the way down to cell rupture and detached retinas. People are taking their lives because they're in such despair. It's, I'm in shock that I don't see people in the streets everywhere. I don't understand what's happening. We have to come together. Coalition building, as you said, is what we need. We've pulled together the Florida Keys Coalition. We're also trying to unite all of the Gulf. We've gotten Governor Chris to say, we're protecting the volunteers. That's my push, is to protect the volunteers. So we're going to integrate into the Unified Command to give the citizenry and the environment a voice, because right now there is no voice. There is no voice for what's going on. We all need to educate ourselves and know what's going on, and don't stop calling the president. Don't stop calling the EPA. We have to have water testing. There is no water testing, and you've got fools like Jimmy Buffett saying, come on down, the water's fine. Sure, if you want to die, if you want cancer, if you want to get sick. The food chain is fucked, okay? Forget about eating fish from the Gulf, forget about it. And it's going to be traveling the whole world. This is not something that's going to stay here. And we've got to stop being silent. We've got to come together. We're at a tipping point in our lifetime, in our planet's evolution. What we have done, if we do not stand up now and try to make some changes, we're all going to fucking die. The planet in 50,000 years is going to clean up the mess, but we're not going to be here. I had an opportunity to sit down and talk to BP. I organized a small demonstration. After doing the research on Tri-State, I'm going to back up a little bit. Tri-State has a kill rate on the animals. Save Our Seabirds has a save rate. So I sat down with BP and we talked for a couple of hours. This guy was he was a human being, right? But he was still the enemy, and I told him, I said, we're on different sides of this, but I will say one thing. I'm BP too. I don't drive a car, but everything I touch every day has been transported by oil. I, like the rest of us, are prisoner to this system, and we have to break out. We cannot continue to be oppressed and allow our world to be destroyed. We talked for about an hour and a half. I told him, I said, you see these 1,500 people? We call it Sea to Still Shining Sea, and Duval Street in Key West runs from the Gulf to the ocean. I got him up, and I had him holding hands, and then he got afraid because people started taking pictures. He goes, my kids might see me on the internet, and they might think badly of me. So he sleeks back to the table. But I frightened him. We got a little bit, we've got a few gains. We have been given $200,000 to do the air curtains, which, is we're going to try to keep it away from the reef as best we can and out of the mangroves. It's not enough. None of it's going to be enough. I'm really tired, so what I'm going to do is go ahead and read a poem that I wrote last night and I performed at Cara's. It kind of says it all.
It was great. Send in the Clowns last night was fantastic. So I'm going to say it again. Send in the fucking clowns, baby. Isn't it rich? The criminals are in charge of the crime scene. With the government in collusion, cleaning the Gulf is just an illusion. Dispersed dreams of sea to still shining pea. Sea. I love that. It's fucking pea, that's right. We, the little people that BP doesn't care about, you or me. Exploding water, methane Corexit mix, and Obama's just sitting around holding his dick. The FCC has taken away our live satellites. BP has bought every scientist in sight. And now by magic it's all gone away. It's lots and lots of bullshit, that's what I say. Emergency rooms are still packed with collateral damage and no one cares. That's the news that no one airs. Say goodbye to our First Amendment rights. We've got to stand up and end this. Send in the fucking clowns. Oh wait, I think they're already fucking here.
So now we're going to have an intermission. Thank you, Diana. We'll have an intermission for a few minutes. If anyone needs anything, there's a market like across the street. We have beverages here. There's a silent auction going on. Please check out the items for sale. They're on both sides of the walls here. And have a good time. And we'll be back in about 15 minutes with our next speaker, who will be, let's see. Oh, me. All right, see you in a bit.